So here's the deal. Over the past 2 weeks, there have been 2 updates addressing specific weapons, buffs, and nerfs. And because of these patches, I truly believe that the meta of Modern Warfare has really been changed up. The top 5 weapons have kind of been shifted. I think there's a number 1 top dog, hands down, that is completely different than what it was before. Now, of course, the biggest 2 updates to the weapons involve the MP5 and the M4, which both of which we're going to be talking about today, but it may surprise you that they're not on the top 5 list. And you may be thinking, how is that possible? Well, you're going to find out throughout this video. Now, don't get me wrong, the M4 and the MP5 are fantastic weapons. I just think since these recent updates, there's a couple that are actually quite a bit better. And that is what today's video is all about, making you a better Call of Duty player by finding out what the top 5 weapons in Modern Warfare are. So we have a lot to talk about, so without further ado, let's hop in to the top 5 weapons in Modern Warfare after the updates. So to start things off, we're going to start with the weapon that, as of right now, is all the rage. Everyone is talking about it, and it is definitely the most improved weapon after the most recent patch, and that is, of course, the M13. And I really do believe that after this most recent patch, the M13 is absolutely the most consistent weapon. So what I mean by that is the things that happen to this weapon after the update is this weapon is always either going to be a 5 or a 6 bullet kill. The 5 bullet kill range got extended, and on top of that, the damage at the 6 bullet kill range got bumped so that if you get 1 headshot, you were going to drop down to that 5 bullet kill simply by getting 1 headshot. This makes it incredibly consistent. But really, the big update happened to its recoil. Previous to this update, there was a lot, and I mean a lot, of horizontal recoil on this weapon, and essentially with this update, they got rid of that. The important thing to note is that horizontal recoil is the type of recoil that makes weapons hard to control, and because they reduced it so greatly, essentially, this weapon now only has vertical recoil, and it is very easy to control. I have to say, this weapon probably has one of the least amount of recoil out of any of the weapons, and definitely out of any of the assault rifles in the game. So, the M13 is incredibly consistent, but it's not the best weapon in the game. And simply what it comes down to is a weapon that is only a 5 to a 6 bullet kill isn't going to have a good time to kill. Even though its fire rate is relatively decent, there is no 3 or 4 bullet kill range that exists on this weapon, which means up close and even at long range, this weapon is simply going to get outgunned time to kill wise. Yes, the M13 is incredibly easy to use after this update, but it is not one of the best weapons in the game. What I would suggest is if you're a new player to the game and you don't have great aim, this is the weapon for you. Kind of similar to the ICR from Black Ops 4. So no, the M13 doesn't make my top 5. I do definitely think it's a top 10 weapon, but just doesn't quite crack that top 5 range. However, I will say it is definitely, out of the last updates, the most improved weapon, and definitely can compete with some of the other assault rifles now. What I will say though is at number 5, I'm putting in the M4 simply because it's a beast of a weapon. It's just not quite as good as it used to be, and I definitely think all of the weapons on the rest of this list are now better than it, which is kind of shocking. I'm not going to go in depth with the M4 stats or anything like that. You've heard it all before. It's a good gun. If you want a good gun, just use it. Now, coming in at number 4, we have the Scar. Now, this one is surprising to me because before the most recent update, I didn't like this weapon, and all they did to it was reduce the recoil. That is it. But the important part with the Scar is it's always a 3 to 4 bullet kill with a fire rate of 600 RPM, which means it's actually going to have a really good time to kill, but you have to hit all your bullets. As soon as you miss bullets, it's going to slow down that time to kill, and it's not going to be able to compete with weapons. So by making the recoil better, and they made it a lot better, it makes this weapon super viable. Now, there are 2 downsides to the Scar. It has a small magazine and a slow aim down sights time. So all this means is you have to build a class based around those things. So here is the class that I personally like to use. It is all built around aiming down sights faster, having more ammunition, and being able to reload faster. So the first, and in my opinion, the most important thing is the 30 round mags. Yes, it's going to make your move speed and aim down speed a little bit slower, but it's worth it because only having a 20 round magazine on this weapon sucks. You burn through it quickly. So I use that. Then I also use sleight of hand to speed up that reload speed as well. Now, to make yourself aim down sights faster, I use the stippled grip. This is going to improve your sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed, very important with this weapon, and the close quarters stock because you get extra aim down sight speed but only lose aiming stability. Yes, there is other things, for example, like the collapsible stock, but you lose aiming stability and recoil control, and you only get extra movement speed, and I don't think it's worth it for the Scar. And then I like to use an optic. I don't like the iron sights on this one, so this is my class with the Scar. Now, the real reason why I think this is a viable weapon in the top 5 now is because previously I actually had to use recoil control attachments on this weapon, and since they buffed the weapon's recoil, it is now makes it so I can only use aim down sights and magazine expanding attachments and don't have to worry about that recoil whatsoever. This weapon's really good. I suggest giving it a try. I will say though, you do have to level it up before it gets really good with those attachments. Up next at number 3, we've got the MP7. Now, I do think that this could easily be replaced with the MP5. However, with the recent MP5 nerf, I thought I would include the MP7. I honestly think the MP7 and MP5 are both top tier SMGs. But the thing is, the MP5 with the 10mm round nerf that it got, and on top of that, it can no longer get that crazy 2-shot headshot up close. I do think that the MP7 is leaning towards being the better weapon, for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's got a faster fire rate, and essentially, once again, no recoil. That is really the big difference between the MP5 and MP7. With the MP7, I feel super comfortable picking people off across the map, simply because it has no recoil, and honestly, sometimes I feel better with the MP7 in my hands than an assault rifle because of that lack of recoil. This gun is pretty much good in every single situation, and if you haven't used it because you're too busy using that MP5, give this weapon a shot. It's just as good, if not a little bit better. Here's the class that I like to use with it. So the cool thing about the MP7 is I strongly believe you do not need any sort of optic with it. There is perfectly fine iron sights. Now, pretty much everything else we're using is going to speed up the aim down sight speed, except for one thing. So once again, using the stippled grip, close quarters grip. This time I'm using the tack laser. This is a really good attachment on weapons that you don't aim down sights much. You get improved aim down sight speed, aim stability, and walking aiming steadiness, and all you have to worry about is that laser showing up only when you aim down sights. Really good attachment. And then FSS strike. This is going to improve the damage range and bullet velocity. So for those long range kills that I was talking about, this is going to improve that. And then sleight of hand is the only other thing I use because I really run and gun while I'm using this weapon. Like I said, this is a really good weapon and a really good class, and I believe is definitely one of, if not the best SMG in the game. Now, the number 2 weapon may be a little bit surprising to you guys, but it is absolutely the Odin. And I actually considered putting this one at number 1, but you really cannot sleep on this weapon. This thing is an absolute beast with a monolithic suppressor on. Basically, you are always looking at a 2 to a 3 bullet kill with a fire rate of 435 RPM. Really slow fire rate, but with a 2 bullet kill, it's an absolute beast. It is the fastest time to kill out of any of the weapons in the game that is, of course, not a shotgun or a sniper rifle. This thing shreds. Now, similar to the Scar, it is important that you hit all of your bullets, and because it has such a low fire rate, there is not a ton of recoil on this thing whatsoever. The best part is you can pick people off across the entire map with just a couple of shots, and it kills them so damn quick. Even if an SMG runs into the same room as you, your time to kill is still better than that SMG as long as you hit your bullets. So once again, with this weapon, when you create a class, it's going to be all built around speeding up that aim down sights time and one thing that extends that 2 bullet kill range. So first off, the Colossus suppressor is going to improve sound suppression, nothing big there, damage range and recoil control, but it slows down aim down sight speed, which we are going to make up for with the stippled grip tape. This attachment I pretty much use on anything. I do not like the iron sights whatsoever on this weapon, so I'm using a reflex sight, 25 round mags, just to make that magazine size a little bit bigger, and then sleight of hand so that I reload quicker. Like I said, the gun's good by itself. It's just amplifying those things with attachments that are already good. So then moving into the number one weapon, this one I'm kind of shocked more people don't talk about, but the number one weapon in the game I strongly believe is the Ram 7, one of the DLC weapons for Season 1. Now, the shocking thing about this is this weapon should literally just be called the better M4. It is nearly the exact same weapon with a faster fire rate. Literally, which means the time to kill for the Ram 7 is going to be better than the M4s at almost every single range. And this is just amplified with the more recent M4 nerf. Essentially, the reason why a lot of people consider the M4 to be better is it has less recoil, which, yes, is good, but the Ram 7 literally has a better time to kill at every single range. Now, without any attachments, yes, the Ram 7 is a little bit sloppy, mainly because of that extra recoil, but you can make up for that with a good class setup. So here's what I like to use. Remember how we were talking about recoil stabilization? The thing that I like to use to counteract that is called the XRK Ranger Barrel. It improves the damage range and recoil control for a trade-off of aim down sight speed and movement speed. What makes up for this is when I use the stippled grip tape, which also improves the sprint to fire speed, and the XRK close quarters stock, which improves the aim down sight speed for aiming stability, which is an incredible trade-off. Now, once again, I do not like the iron sight, so I am using a red dot sight and sleight of hand, super common for all of my classes. This gun is incredible. I truly believe that it is much better than the M4 simply because it has that faster fire rate. The damages are actually better after the most recent update. And on top of that, the only downside and difference is a little bit extra range on the 5 bullet kill for the M4 and a little less recoil, which we make up for with the class that we're using for the Ram 7. This gun is incredible. Try it out. It is really damn good. Make sure you have it unlocked before the end of Season 1. Now, what you may have noticed with my top 5 list, there is a lot, and I mean a lot, of assault rifles in it, and that's just the meta of the game right now. Assault rifles seem to be reigning supreme. Yes, there is a couple of good SMGs, the MP7, the MP5, and the one that's not on this list that's really good is the Bison, but like things like the P90 just can't compete with the good damage rates, and most of the assault rifles in this game have pretty good fire rates compared to assault rifles from previous games. So that's why we are seeing this incredibly high assault rifle meta, and I'm curious to see whether or not in future updates they try to improve SMGs or even LMGs to compete with these weapons. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know what your favorite weapons are currently within Modern Warfare. I really highly recommend trying out both the Odin and the Ram 7 with those classes I showed you. They are really damn good, so try those ones out. But if you guys enjoyed the video, it is always appreciated if you do hit that like button, and if you like what you see and want to stay up to date on everything Modern Warfare and other Call of Duty games, make sure you hit that subscribe button, have notifications on. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
We are reaching for the